short, they use traditional herbs to make medicine, and they use the communities. By the way, the Kalenjin community is so rich with herbs. I'm not going to go into details, but ladies and gentlemen, help me introduce or help me welcome Harriet from Harriet Botanicals. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, everybody, and good morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for such a warm welcome. It's a pleasure being here as always, and I can't imagine it's been 5 years since COVID. And when we were talking, because I think there's been quite a bit of change since that time. I remember, I think at the time I had I had 3 products plus 1 pouch, the Busareg. But as you stated, I now have 14 products, 4 of the liquid, and then 2 Busareg, because I now have Busareg of Lagok as well, Busareg for children. And out of the 4, I think I had Sagawaita, the one for respiratory health, coming out of COVID. I added the one for insulin resistance, joint pain, blood pressure, diabetes type 2, anything related to insulin sensitivity. And then I added the flowers, which are like the food to support the other ones. I've grown quite a bit because my manufacturing facility can now do up to 1,000 bottles a day. And of course, we're doing all the other things, and we have good manufacturing practices. In that time, last year, I won SME Award of the Year. And this year, I won Women Manufacturing Innovator of the Year. So what we are now trying to do when we say we modernize traditional medicine, that is exactly what we are doing, particularly this year, since we upgraded our manufacturing capacity.
But I think it's great to know that you've added a number of lines and you've grown into the quantity of manufacturing. I think that's positive
Yes.
because it means we are taking it up. You know, enough of us got colonized into medicine must be coming from the West.
Yes, yes. Let's
And
see if it will allow me to share my screen.
yeah, you should be able to share. Should be able to share.
Confirm that you can see my screen. It's not working.
Yeah, I saw it coming and then it's saying I should be seeing it. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing. Yeah. Anybody seeing you can put in that text.
Not yet. I'm not able to see the screen.
It's saying we are viewing it, but for some reason it's still not there. So maybe you try it again, or maybe you haven't just brought the slide itself. Maybe you.
Oh, okay. It was just a YouTube video. I can maybe send it to you. Oh, it's okay. I suppose I was just trying to show you that how our manufacturing facility has grown.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so now the topic at hand, because it's to do with the whole let me see why you want to pause the camera. Okay, resume camera. The topic at hand, the efficacy of traditional medicine, which a lot of people have been discussing that now, because more people want to use the traditional medicine. So this keeps coming up. Now, the first thing I would like to say, of course, for me, I always make a controversial claim first, because I think we're still using Western standards to determine what works and what doesn't work. Even the terminology, the efficacy comes from the whole pharmaceutical concept. And these are some of the things that we have to go through: the efficacy, the drug interaction, and the toxicology whenever we are approaching pharmacy and poisons board. But then these are not terms that actually that came from the African practice of traditional medicine. These are terms that were imposed on us. And actually the standard is always European, or when I say European, I also mean American and now Chinese. So when we say the efficacy of traditional medicine, I think it's like saying when you eat sukuma wiki, how do you know it works? You know, how do you know you're absorbing the nutrients? How do you know sukuma wiki is good for you? How do you know managu and saget are good for you? So the same way you instinctively see a result, like when you take these, let's say, traditional foods, how you feel later, how it balances your sugar, how you're able to perform in the day, the fact that you don't get sick or the fact that you heal when you get sick, that is the efficacy around it. So with traditional medicine, it's the same. This is like thousands and thousands of years, millions of years of botanical knowledge, you know, that our ancestors have been using these products for a very long time. So if you go and ask them, Zay, how does it work? How do you know it works? And he'll say to you, we've been using it for a very long time. You know, so we have anecdotal evidence. Maybe we didn't sit down and we didn't do clinical trials in a specific way. Clinical trials for us is that everyone uses it and it works. That is the clinical trial. So if there's moms who are facing infertility and they take certain medicines and after that they're able to have their babies, that is the efficacy. Now, in any community, obviously, they would have been taking stock of the numbers. How many people are using this product and how fast is it working? And most of these mamas and babas, they never gave up. So when it came time to identify if somebody is sick and this has not worked, what do we then do? And they would then maybe seek advice from a neighboring community, or maybe they would seek advice from a further village, travel distances until they identify where there's, let's say, a medicine man or a plant that is so powerful that it can overcome the challenges they are facing where they are. So, you know, with infertility, for instance, you have something like unexplained infertility, you know, because most of the time infertility is associated with either PCOS, which is insulin resistance, or fibroids and adenomyosis. Those ones are associated with estrogen dominance in the scientific terms, or you have the blocked tubes and the infections, to name a few, or you can have a small womb, right? Or literally your eggs didn't mature, or you can have premature ovarian failure, which in my opinion is that unexplained infertility. When the person doesn't present any symptoms around all the others, then we say it's unexplained. And sometimes it's just stress. We also have the issue of, on the men's side, the sperm count, the motility, the quantity, the quality, and also now the health of the womb. So the health of the two people. So another element, another level of efficacy is if you look at the animals, if you look at goats, what do the goats do when they're sick? You know, or even further afield, when the cat is sick, it starts to eat the grass. How does the cat know that the grass is the right thing to eat? You know, how does the goat know where to go, which, you know, what to eat so that it can cure itself? You know, these animals did not have a vet, they don't have doctors, they don't have surgery. So out in the wild, when the lion is sick, how does the lion know what to do to get better? Because sometimes you see them in the Mara, you see that a lion has bitten off a chunk of leg from a wildebeest, and the wildebeest continues moving. It's not thinking about sepsis. It's not thinking about infection. It's just thinking that it will do something to eventually heal. It'll be protected by the herd, and maybe it'll eat grass from a particular section of the Mara. So that is sort of like my answer to efficacy. It's in your DNA. It's in things that you've heard. It's in the fact that your ancestors or a grandmother or somebody has pointed out the healing herbs. It's in practices like, you know, when people know that, for instance, when you're bitten by a snake, the anti-venom of the snake. The snake has the anti-venom as well. Or the fact that you go and look for the bushes that where the snake was hiding, and the plants where the snake uses as its habitat becomes now the antidote, the anti-venom. So I hope that is useful. I mean, in terms of efficacy, then for us, of course, we are keeping track. We have a customer reference manual or our CRM where we are keeping track of every single customer that's coming to us and what they're treating and how many bottles and the symptoms they're presenting. And traditional medicine is not a one size fits all. It's literally customized to you because the plants are actually, have their own intelligence, have their own, innate intelligence, is that they adapt to you. Just like you, when you meet somebody and you feel like they're agitated, right? And they start acting crazy, speaking fast, they're sweating. The first thing you do is you step back and you observe. And then you customize yourself to the way this person is behaving. You remain calm because you don't want to antagonize them further. And you want to understand what this person is experiencing, what this person is going through. So you customized yourself to the energy that they are presenting. And then if they suddenly become calm, again, you will, rethink your approach, like what exactly has happened to this person. And you will make a few deductions. And from that, you will then decide what your next move will be. So plants are the same, they're sentient beings. They customize themselves to us, our energy. If your energy is low, if we have certain nutrients that are not available, then the plant makes those nutrients available to you. You use only what you need from the plant. So whether it's the extracts in there, the plant will make it available to you, and your body will then take what it needs. It's a bit like, just think of it as like the stomach. Something goes into the stomach, and maybe you are low in vitamin B or vitamin C, which is in the plant. Your stomach will then take and utilize and extract what it does not need. So that's sort of how you have this symbiotic relationship with nature. And Africans demonstrated the most. We have a symbiotic relationship with nature, plants, animals, the whole world, Similarly, if you have the Maasai waiting in the Manyata, and then suddenly his instincts tell him that there's a predator around coming for his animals, what alerts the Maasai in the Manyata? Is it a smell? Is it a thought? Is it a dream? All that is that element of our humanity, the fact that we are mind, body, and spirit, which tells you something is wrong. I can feel it. So thousands of years of instinctual behavior, instinct, wow, is what wakes the Maasai up to go and check. They feel like something is off, or they heard a sound, So that interaction with nature is what has protected us for millions of years. The fact that we can walk through the savannah and know not to step on a thorn. So efficacy for African traditional medicine is exactly that. I mean, even when you go home to the village, wherever you go, and they give you certain food, you kind of automatically know what this food is. You've had it before. It was given to you maybe 20 years ago at the beginning, or 30 years ago, you drink this kind of soup, right? And that soup made you feel a certain way. And your memory kicks in, your ancestral memory now. Somebody else prepared the soup even before you were born. Even before the person who prepared the soup for you, it's your grandmother, was born. Somebody else was preparing the soup. So that is my answer to efficacy. Now, I'm not sure if you have specific products you want us to cover or you have specific questions. I find it's always good to go with questions. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Now, Harriet, now that we have, I think from COVID, like you said, we've had lots of issues to do with these viral infections, the influenza moving around, and now people are talking about maybe there is some other strand of whatever. Do you also have such like solutions at Harriet Botanicals?
Yes, I have all the solutions because we
Uh-huh.
believe in taking a holistic view of the human, right? So we have something called the Harriet Guide. And the Harriet's Guide will sort of like tell you about stress, about sleep, about your environment, about food, a low carb diet, a high vegetable diet, relationships, obviously, and just environmental toxins, among other things. So the first thing is your environment, to create an environment that nurtures health. The second thing is to use the healing herbs, because the healing herb that is good for the respiratory health, it's antiviral, it's antibacterial, it's antimicrobial. Those are all sort of the same herbs. COVID was a virus. So maybe the second thing that's coming, whatever it is, it's also a virus. And your body is always adapting. The immune system is always improving. Now, when you take the healing herbs, whether it's the one for Sagawaita, the very same Sagawaita, your body has now adapted against the other one. It'll adapt again. It'll create, a fresh immune response. It's like going to battle, and that time you're using a sword, and this time now maybe you use, a gun, right? So yes, we do. We have the busareg. Remember that the busareg is for gut health, and everything starts with gut health. So first you regulate your gut, you clean your gut, you improve the lining of the gut to make sure the wrong things don't go into the body, and to make sure your body purifies all the bad stuff. Then you improve the gut flora and fauna. You improve the whatever is going on in the gut so that it can function at an optimum level, right? Then of course you will take things like Sagawaita, which is just literally for the respiratory health. Then you have insulin resistance. Insulin, like literally what's going on in our body is always connected to insulin, right? So whether it's the fact that what's carrying in your blood, if your blood is too sugary, what we call sugary blood, if it's forming plaques, then it's not able to purify itself. So you need a blood purifier. So you clean the blood, you clean the skin in and out, the skin is the largest organ. You clean the gut, right? And then you take adaptogens, all our herbs have adaptogens in them. So our approach is still the same. I mean, we have a new product that we're developing called Harriet Botanicals Segutiet. And that one now is for fever and inflammation and treating, it's actually anti-malarial as well. So even before we get to malaria, we have dengue fever, anything to do with very strong viruses in the environment will be treated by this new product. So we are always researching, but I believe that in the pack of set of herbs we have, literally you can treat anything.
I love that you have a solution for almost everything, as you're saying. Somebody,
Yes.
you're talking about gut, and somebody just asked which product do you have for great gut health. I had you just mentioned something cleaning the whole gastro system.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Let me see if I can find one of my. Just let me get. Oh, here it is. So this is like our new. This is our new product set, if you can see them. And the one for the gut, busareg, it's a bit small there, but let me pick it. Let me just pick it from here. So this is our gut health product. I'm sure most of you have seen this product in the market because it's one of the earlier ones, maybe 2-3 years ago. And this is 20 trees, a combination of 20 trees. And now these trees are all medicinal, right? Actually, they come from Lelaitich. Lelaitich is where we source them because Busareg can be from many different places. So we try and like identify where it's from with the community that it's from. So sometimes you'll hear Busareg of Konoin or Busareg of Nandi, or well, Nandi is quite big, but like a specific location from there might have a special Busareg. I mean, there are people who are doing Busareg for cancer. There are those doing Busareg for autoimmune. So for me, I just say for gut health, ulcers, hyperacidity, and all this H. pylori. This is now emerging to be very strong for H. pylori. So this is your gut health product, 20 trees. Somebody else spoke about, we also, we have also the supplements. These are some of the products that we developed. And the supplements, like now this one, which has your spirulina, your chlorella, your moringa, and your baobab, and your stinging nettle, is very strong to promote sort of like general wellness, in terms of stimulating your immunity. These are some of the things that we don't take on a daily basis, like chlorella and spirulina. But when you add them to your smoothie, then you are stimulating immunity. I mean, we have the super fertility as well. We have another busarek. This is the busarek that we developed for children, busarek of lagog, right? So lagog is children. And remember, we maintain the traditional name so that the community can continue developing this culture, and the children and the other young people can now attach to traditional medicine and traditional trees, even though they're now speaking English and less of the language. But like this one now for oral thrush. So these are some of the things that they give the children when they're very small, or oral thrush when they're teething. And again, because it's topical, it will go into the stomach and heal the stomach and also clean the gut as well. So, the way we have from the guts all the way from the stomach to the anus. So this is the one for children, a bit more mild, 15 trees. And this is the one for adults. So when someone has just asked about like now cancer. So our autoimmune pack is also our cancer pack, though we are not allowed to make claims, right? So my approach really to that whole thing of, let me just get you my, if you look closer here, this is my immunity pack. That's also for children and for adults. But at the same time, my autoimmune support pack would be made of busarek. I've shown that to you. This super vitality. It would then be made of one of my flowers to support recovery. And then, of course, depending on the kind of cancer, we have our arrowroot, which we changed our packaging. If it's like a cancer that is related to the womb, uterine cancer, cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, it would be arrowroot, and then mosipchot, the one for insulin resistance, and then sagawaita also for just immune response. So your typical cancer pack would have something for inflammation, mosipchot, and also to regulate the sugars. Cancer cannot survive in an environment that doesn't have sugar. Most of the time, we feed the cancers because we are giving it sugar. And that's why sometimes it says go into ketosis to actually deal with the cancer. The best thing first, of course, is to catch it early. And then you can change the environment within the ecosystem within your own body. You can introduce busarek to clean your gut. And then you have the mosipchot to clean the blood, but also to reduce the insulin, increase insulin sensitivity. Then you can now take all the other things, the healing herbs, including the one for prostate cancer. That is the one that our Tendrit, our men's product, actually, I think I mentioned in our earlier session that Tunas africana was actually being over-harvested for chemo medication for men. So Tendrit is a medicine for prostate cancer. So that is our own approach. So there are medicine people out there who will make busarek for cancer. But since we don't have enough quote unquote research in the modern sense, I sort of don't play in that arena. I believe in just looking after the human from the beginning, right? We want to build more nutritious food, for instance. We want to bring back traditional food. We want to bring back saget, manago. We want to bring back our seeds, our natural grains. We want to move away from processed foods. We want to drink clean water. We want to move away from unhealthy fertilizer, things that actually get into our skin through our food. We want to move away from dirty estrogens. We want to move away from toxins in the food, so to speak. We want to eat the food that is suitable for the African. We want more protein, building blocks for our health. So that is my approach for any of the autoimmune. Even autoimmune is another thing that is really on the rise, especially with women. So if people are presenting symptoms that they never presented before, then it must be something that has changed in our environment. And of course, now we spend way more time in traffic and we're always stressed. So that is kind of like my quick and dirty answer.
Good. Quick and dirty. I really hope you're also going to get a little bit of time to tell people how you came into this, because some other people may just. So, how did you come into getting into this field of health and things like that? Most of the questions here I see they are related to, do you have a solution for this? You have a solution for this? Which in general you said you have a solution which it is holistic. It's healing. It approaches from the side of healing, not just finding the disease to take care of it, but it's holistic. And
Yes.
I think a lot of that you will be able to probably answer in private consultation. Somebody also asked, uh, many people, especially at old age, have blood pressure issues. How can one regulate or control the high blood pressure? So I believe also if you start relating your story, some other people will be able to relate with theirs and now come into where you're coming from, into this alternative medicine.
Okay, so I can answer the two questions.
Yeah.
So my history, I mean, I've been telling my story, I think now for at least the last 5 years and even before. So for me, I was an investment banker in London. I spent 15 years in England. Actually, I left here in 1995, just after finishing high school, and I was at London School of Economics. I have an LLM, LLB, and LLM in law, international banking and finance law, also with an emphasis on mercantile law. I worked for JP Morgan Chase, the Financial Services Authority, and Goldman Sachs. So I was a lawyer. I'm just like a very, from a young age, I was always this very ambitious kind of woman who wanted to win, and it was always my dream to work at Wall Street. So, but I had a challenge in that I had very painful menses from the age of 16. So I'm one of those who used to be taken to the sand and also to be given painkillers and maybe miss a few days of school. And it only became a problem when I was working in that high stress, high pressure environment. Now, I thought it was normal to have painful periods, painful menses. So it just got worse. And the pain, the kind of debilitating pain where you faint, where you vomit, and it was affecting my work. And this is how I used to spend a lot of my free time, just looking at different alternative remedies. On the streets of London, you're going to find that they have allopathic remedies going hand in hand with homeopathic remedies and other alternative remedies. So, what you can step out of my office, and I can go to Neil's Yard, which has essential oils, or I can go to another place that has flower remedies, Bach flower remedies, or I can go somewhere else for a massage. So, in the UK and in Europe, they've actually integrated holistic medicine into allopathic practice. They're not completely separate. So, I became the kind of person who knew about, I used to use their herbs as well. So any of those shops that I mentioned, you can go in there and you've done your research or you're talking to somebody who is into natural medicine, you get tired of popping painkillers. And when you have these women conditions, you're also given a lot of antidepressants. So sometimes you're looking for the cure for the antidepressant. You're looking for the cure for the for the side effects of what it is that you're taking. Very strong painkillers. And a lot of times, which also happened to me, they also put you on birth control. So now you've got birth control, you've got antidepressants, and you've got a cocktail of painkillers. So what I would do the week before my period, I would do things like holistic massage with, let's say, essential oils. I would also use essential oils to help me with sleep because I would have insomnia and I would have mood swings, and I would take back flower remedies. Now, also because to regulate my mood and things and homeopathic pills as well. So I became an expert, by 2002, 2004, I was really an expert in alternative medicine. I went for Reiki. I'm a Reiki practitioner. I taught myself self-taught massage, but I also went for classes for all these things. Like, so I can create pills. I can get the herbs. I had a cutter for them, and then I put them into little capsules and package. And this I was doing for myself. I know how to create essential oils. I know how to create colloidal silver, colloidal gold, colloidal copper. I had an extraction machine. So those things are available there, so to speak, and I just kind of took them for granted. But I never really got relief. So when I came to Kenya, now what then happened is with the pain I was going through, let's say my mom would have somebody come from KO. There was a woman who lived next to us who said there's a woman who came to treat all of us because it was her daughters and my mom's daughters, but mainly me. And they'd give us this concoction where now you vomit for days and days and days. And they say wanaosha tumbo. I also had the lady who worked for us who had an uncle who was a practitioner coming from Webuye. We used to call those herbs Webuye. And he'd go into Kakamega Forest and bring these herbs, and they're sent to Nairobi, and we boil them and we drink. So I'd get some relief, but not 100%. I wasn't taking these things very seriously until 2017, during my dad's funeral, when I was bleeding very heavily. A woman said to me, "Kesho nitakuletea dawa," because she could see that I was going through some excruciating pain and I couldn't participate. And that was my first introduction to this decoction, whether it's leaves, barks, roots, or the decoction that she brought, or rather the group of herbs that she brought. No dosage, no other instructions. She didn't know what endometriosis was. I was undiagnosed at the time. So that was my first time I had a painless period in over 20 years. And literally, I gave this product, the same group of herbs, to a friend of mine who was on her way to a hysterectomy. We were in our 40s at the time, and she was bleeding heavily. She had been bleeding for 21 days, and it was coming out like mud. So they had recommended she has a hysterectomy because her womb wasn't serving her as per what the doctor had said. And her two older sisters had hysterectomies. And I told her, while you're waiting for your hysterectomy, take this thing to help you with pain and with bleeding. And literally, it just sorted her out. And she talks about this in my class WhatsApp group. Actually, somebody just asked which school I went to, not Kenya High, I went to Alliance. And the product just exploded. So that was 2017 to 2020, where I'm just walking around, still doing my finance consulting. I was working in renewable energy, in affordable housing. Actually, I've been working in affordable housing in other countries since 2010, and in renewable energy in places like Zambia, bringing in the finance. And I also did work in water and in health. At the time, the NCCK were actually trying to build hospitals in every county, and I was involved in that project. So for me, I was still doing my work. I was doing work for CEDA, the CEDA at the Swedish, for DFID, and for USAID, because they're the ones who come up with the funding for all the different projects. But so I just like make, let's say, 10 bottles, maybe just a sufuria in the kitchen, get the herbs from home. And now I started embellishing, or rather adding to that, because I started talking to different practitioners to see what they use, and I came across my own formulation. And I had not even patented it at the time, and I'd make 10 bottles, on the stove, package in Coke bottles, which I was getting from my neighbors, and give to my friends. And the 10 bottles on one jiko became 10 jikos, 10 bottles on 10 jikos. And literally, I was doing now 100 bottles a day, and I had a rider to take them to G4S. So G4S was my outlet. Now, I made a video because I was getting irritated with people asking me the same questions all the time. How do they work? What is the dosage? What is your history? And this video actually, up to today, got 4 million views. It just went viral. And that video is what made me sort of like popular across the country. And now I was getting people asking on that video, what are they? I was sending to Bongoma, I was sending to everywhere, coast. And now I needed a PA to manage my page. And because I had put it on a well-known platform, or rather a public platform, I had to now go to the Ministry of Culture to get certification. And this is how I found. I went to the Ministry of Culture, and they sent me to University of Nairobi Pharmacology and Pharmacognosy department to actually look at the herbs, and they gave me a report. The report is sent back to Ministry of Culture, who then, give me the certificate that allows me to advertise widely on platforms like WhatsApp. So I got my certification, and then somebody told me, you know what, there's this thing called on Notify. You can rent a shelf for 4,000 shillings, put your product on there, and send your clients there to town. And the product was so popular in the shop that eventually the woman decided to throw me out because I had completely taken over the whole shop. You know, with me, my product on the shelf, I was selling the most. And then literally across the road from there, Moy Avenue, I just walked across and I found my own shop. And that was how my first Harriet Botanicals shop was actually born. And that was still before it was still early days of COVID. I'd say it's around February, right? And then my mom passed in March. So I remember my dad had passed in 2017. My mom now passed in March. And that was when the whole COVID thing happened and we were shipped off to Shags. And we did the funeral and everything. And literally that was the first. Now, what then happened is post-COVID, everybody just literally went crazy. They were just buying this product. And I had no idea because it was now my girl was here managing and my sales were higher and higher and higher. And I think at the time, people were so scared of this thing that they were just going natural. And literally by the time I came back, because I was locked up, while at home, I developed the COVID project, what they were using there to reduce the temperatures as they go through the different checkpoints. And that's when I saw, then this must be the cure. So they had, in the village, they have like an ancient formula for what they call pneumonia of the lungs. And that is my sagawaita, which I then added on different trees. You know, that's what they were using. They were not wearing masks and they didn't get the jab. Most people were against the jab. So when I came back now, literally my business was huge. I mean, at the time. And that is when we said we have to move out of the house because the house was the garage was where we had the 10 jikos. And the sitting room was where we met clients. And the dining room was where we did the labeling. And the front of the house was where we did the dispatch with our rider now to the shop. So we are sending, you know, hundreds of bottles to the shop and also still to G4S. And there's the ones from the shop where you have somebody in the shop now doing the dispatches, taking it to all the different shuttles. And that's when I discovered there's all these shuttles that go across the country. And it's way cheaper than sending with G4S. And then you have your riders. So from the same shop, you have your riders delivering to Nairobi, and then you have your shuttle. And then sort of it was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's when I needed a second shop on Gong Road because of my Gong Road clients. And then somebody told me they can open a stall at Waterfront where we were just paying like 8,000. And from that stall, we sell the product. The same person opened a similar idea in Nakuru and in Eldoret. I mean, they were just like, let me make some money, Harriet, and I can have like this little, you know, outfit. So that's how now I had my CBD shop, I had my Soko Safi shop, I had these other shops. Then my friends now, my classmates, one of them was selling from our house in Mombasa, one was selling from Kisumu, one was selling from Meru. And eventually, these all became shops. Yeah, it's like they were making enough money for us to say, we're going to take a shop, we're going to outfit. By that time, we've developed a logo, we've developed a brand, we have a website. Eventually, I left Soko Safi because it didn't have enough traffic. And then a little table at Sarit became a shop. A similar thing when BBS was born, it also became a shop. And then now, because I was competing with Healthy You could see me opening up everywhere. They came into partnership with me, and now I supply 34 Healthy You outlets. So that's kind of my story, and I'm endo-free now. I mean, I have the products, I have the herbs, and I then now brought in that whole investment banking mind into the business, where we built the factory. I have a technical director. You've met my husband, who's my technical director, who actually is a mechanical engineer, and he's the one who created the whole factory environment in terms of the good manufacturing practices, the decoction, the temperatures, the way we bottle. So he built that with a team locally. And sort of that's how we created a whole entire manufacturing facility for herbal medicine in Nairobi. And then we got bigger. So we export to the diaspora. We sell in Australia, Canada, the US. We have loyal clientele out there. Initially, DHL had refused to work with me. I took my first 100 bottles to the DHL depot and they told me, oh no, this is going to be rejected at the border. So I took my 100 bottles back and I told my diaspora clients, I'm sorry, this is a herbal decoction. It cannot get across. A year after, DHL approached me with DHL Express. And now I have DHL Express on my website. You just order, it goes across and you get your bottles. We're sending about 100 to 200 bottles a month to the diaspora. I met somebody else, Kamau, who's in Maryland, who's actually my distributor out there. Kamau has an outlet in Thika. He became a partner in distribution. I met the Naturals. Somebody talked about Harriet's Naturals. We were never Harriet's Naturals, but I work with the Naturals. Kitengela Naturals, Nevasha Naturals, and Kisi Naturals. And I think we're going to be opening Machakos. We're going to work with Machakos Naturals. And there's another lady also in Kisumu who's going to be distributing in Western. She's one of the Naturals as well. So this is how we kind of just became bigger, like, you know, one of the bigger players in the natural herbal market. Now, for high blood pressure, I think we talked about insulin resistance. And this is what I've been talking to everybody about, the fact that now we're eating more sugar. We're eating more carbohydrates. We're eating more sugar. When you wake up in the morning, what do you have? You have your bread. You have your jam on that bread. You know, the bread is a carb. You have the sugar in the jam. You have the sugar in the tea. So you're starting your day with something that creates insulin resistance. We've eaten so much sugar, carbohydrates, your chapati, your ugali, your rice, processed, because the rice that we're having is not the natural rice. It's processed rice. So it's like we're stuffing ourselves with all these carbohydrates, which convert to glucose. Or now the body is not able to absorb all of it. So it closes, the cells close, and you have all this, that's insulin resistance. You have all this glucose sugar running in your blood. So it then forms a plaque, right? It's like it's forming on your cells. It's just over there, and it's shrinking the amount of space the blood has to go through, and that's your high blood pressure, right? At the same time, it's sugar in the blood. That's your diabetes type 2. It's positioning itself, it's depositing itself where it can in your joints. That's actually your diabetes type 3. It's in the brain, but also your arthritis now, your osteoporosis. So it's trying to find its way everywhere. So in your belly fat, it's what you call the visceral fat, the fat around your organs. So first things first is to change your life, reduce carbohydrates, reduce sugar. Some of us who drink 10 cups of tea, like I'm guilty of loving my tea and loving my coffee. The tea is not the problem, the coffee is not the problem. The sugar that you're putting is actually the problem. The fact that you're drinking sugar the whole day, it's in your sodas, it's in your fruit juices, these are the ones that you buy in the supermarket. Now you have children developing this condition, right? Because they're eating sugar, bread and jam, mom, bread and jam. They eat a mandazi, they eat pancake, all this, they eat a donut. Same with you, when you get to the office, you're eating a donut, with your tea, with your sugar, you're reaching for sugar all the time. And you are creating insulin resistance because your ancestors never did that. Now, maybe in a day you walk 4,000 steps between your office, up the stairs, to your car, or to the matatu place, or whatever it is. If you're timing like I do, you probably get 6,000 steps if you're lucky. But our ancestors were doing up to 10,000 steps, even 14,000 steps a day. And this was helping them regulate the sugar, eliminate the sugar, evacuate the sugar. So, if you look at the people in the village, when they woke up in the morning, they will go to get the water. They walk around their kashamba. They are doing many things. They are sweeping. All those activities actually amount to steps. So the traditional 10,000 steps is that the work that you do in the shamba, the way you walk to the gate, the way you walk to your neighbors, the way you walk down to the river, the way you take the cows down to drink the water, you get your 10,000 steps in. At the same time, so even if you drank a lot of, in the morning, the first thing they do in my village is they have the tea, they put a lot of sugar, they're going to burn it. They pick tea for like a few hours. Or you find, in Siaya, where my hubby comes from, these people, they go fishing, they're out there like the whole night. That physical activity, it burns all this sugar. When they come, that physical activity of cleaning, moving the fish from here, the women will come, they'll take the fish, they take it to the market, they're interacting the whole day. They are actually eliminating insulin resistance. They're increasing insulin sensitivity, making sure that whatever they have taken, whether it's ugali or whatever it is used up by the body. And that's why they are lean and mean. And you see an old man in the village who's 70 looking so young and amazing, and he can have kids, he's procreating. This is because they don't have insulin resistance. Insulin resistance manifests in the ovaries and in the testicles. So if you have it in the testicles, now, the way you're eating, you find now your testosterone is converting into estrogen, right? And now you're not producing sperm, or you're not producing enough sperm, and you're infertile. Similarly, with women, your estrogen is converting into testosterone. And that is why you're manifesting the male hormones, the beard, the male pattern baldness, you're getting overweight, your voice is getting deeper because you don't have the estrogen that creates the eggs that allows you to ovulate, allows you to get pregnant. So insulin resistance in the ovaries. So you have insulin resistance in the blood, in the skin, in the brain, in the joints, in the ovaries, causing all these problems. And there we have our Mosif Chot, which is like a drink. They're drinking in the village all the time. The Maasais are walking around with something saying kuosha damu. That is what they mean by insulin resistance. The Maasai have this thing where every year, whether you are a minister or whether you are somebody just in the village looking after cattle, all the Maasai men go away and they go with the cattle and then they spend time in these like manyatas that are like saunas made for that, and they drink soup and they do massage and they actually eliminate all the illnesses that they have accumulated that year. And then they clean the blood. They have the same herbs which we use. We have these same herbs all around the Mau forest. So the Ogiek, the Maasai, and the Kipsigis have the same herbs actually. It's all about the different names. They put them in the soup with honey, and then they drink, and then they sweat. So they go through like a blood purification sort of like ceremony. They do it together. They have community. They talk to each other. They build they build friendships. They talk to their kith and kin. So they create that supporting environment for Africans to thrive. Talking about the same healing herbs now, I'm developing a skincare line. And the men's skincare line, I'm actually going to use the same Kalenjin herbs, but now with the Luo names, because Legetetet is Ochuoga, and you have Ojok, which for us is Labotwet. And we are now working with other communities. We have the Mukombero. We have the flower that has Mukombero in it. Because my whole idea is that there's botanicals across the whole country. We have stinging nettle, which is in this, which I think is it called dafu in the Kikuyu tradition? So my idea is to build a Kenya where everybody has their own resources and that they can convert it into something. If you have mira, you can make your mira oil. If you have, if you have your, what is this, the drink that they're making now? We call it musarek, like the drink that is the same as muratina. So maybe now they have the muratina juice, and you can actually make the muratina oil that is topical. Or you can, the same way you have the CBD oil, you actually can drink the CBD juice that is supposed to actually clean the tummy as well. And now they're using CBD oil and CBD drops actually for pain in cancer medication. It's just not something that's been developed here so much. And of course, there's the potential for abuse. So maybe it's not a product that will be developed in Africa. But you do know that in Botswana, for instance, that they're growing hectares and hectares of the CBD and actually exporting it to other countries that are making CBD oil that is being used in medicinal products. So maybe I've spoken a lot. Maybe we can
Yeah.
interject and
Thank
give me some
you.
answers.
Thank you. Thank you. I was enjoying it, and I think it's just because of time. We've got to stop there. Maybe one thing. Somebody asked whether the products are now kept certified. I want to believe that
Yes,
is yes.
yes, they are.
Yes.
They are kept
Yeah.
certified. What we're now working with is the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. So this year, we have started our application for Pharmacy and Poisons Board. And the critical thing for them is your good manufacturing practices. And that is why we had to upgrade the factory. Even the space you're in matters, how much space you're using, and the fact that you have partitions, and the fact that you have a wet room and a dry room, and the fact that we also have a lab. And in that lab, we test for the four main bacteria that are dangerous. We have a reverse osmosis machine. We purify our water on site. We test for the staphylococcus, for the streptococcus, for the E. coli, and there's one more I always forget. So we're also doing the quality control on site as well as bringing in the consultants.
Time. Thanks. Somebody had
Yeah.
asked the botanical name for the gut herb. I don't know if you know
Oh,
the
so
botanical name for that gut herb. She said
so
this is
these are
very
20
difficult.
trees.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
okay, the 20 trees in here include so many. Like, okay, there's one that is Wabuge ugadensis, is actually known as the African cancer bush, is one of them. We call it soget. We still have our legatate in here, which is Carissa edulis, which is your Ochuoga. We have your Chibindaroet as well, which is like the one for infections. We have so many, like one called
Yeah,
Emechu, which is
mm. I think because
so
of time, you can just put your
you will
number
do that.
there. Let people,
Okay.
your the contacts. Let people reach out to you.
Okay.
This one we cannot finish. I love it. There are lots of questions.
Somebody had
Lots.
asked about on Ngong Road, you go to Healthy U, Yaya or Healthy U Junction, and you'll get our 4 liquid products.
Yeah, and of course the prices are there, and then there is the website as well. Thanks. So
Yes. Yeah.
yes, we need your number. People are looking for numbers there. Thank you very much. I'll call Noel. Are you still here?
Yes, I am. I
You were
am
just quiet
still,
at the time, and
the whole of me is still here. You know, as Harriet is speaking, I'm just reminded that it's interesting how when the whites came in Africa, and then they definitely introduced the other kind of medicines, and then they made us think that herbalists are witches. So it's interesting how when you think even about those old shoshos and old grandpas in the village who gives us herbs and everything. And it's interesting they have herbs for everything. I mean, you've cut your hand, you're bleeding. My mom would tell you, okay, kuja chukua easy, and then they would apply in the place, and the bleeding will stop and everything. But whites made us think that they are witches, but that herbalism is witchcraft, which is not. Herbs are very healthy. So I call upon Antonia Mutunga, who is going to give a vote of thanks, and then immediately after that, she is going to give us the admin updates. Antonia.